Okay, everybody. How's everyone doing today? Welcome to another episode of AXIOM TV and our special series, Say Word. Um, every week, I like to give you a reason as to why it is good to improve your vocabulary and your overall knowledge. And this week is no different. One of the main reasons why you want to continue to improve yourself overall is remember, our minds do not turn off after school. Whether you realize it or not, your brain is constantly learning. It's constantly being a sponge and taking in new knowledge. Remember, everything that our senses detect, though we may not view it as such, is information. And some of it is meaningless and some of it is pivotal. And what you want to do is to discern for yourself what is actually pivotal or is important or meaningful for you to know, and what is information that you can do without. Gossip, depending on the type of gossip that it is, because not all gossip is meaningless. Um, Gossip over the Nazi airwaves could be viewed as very important to the Allies during World War II. So not all gossip is flippant knowledge. Instead, you should try to take note of the information out there that you will be able to use one day, the information of resounding or recurring value. It's the type of information that no matter when you go to it, you always know that you're getting knowledge from it, such as 2 plus 2 equals 4. No matter how many times you go back to that equation, you know that you're always getting value from it because it is always giving you the right answer of 4. It's always telling you something that you can go ahead and use in the future or use at present. While some knowledge, such as pop culture references, for instance, the New Kids on the Block album, even if you knew every song to that album, what good does it serve you right now? Other than you know the lyrics to the whole entire New Kids on the Block album. Do you see what I'm saying? 2 plus 2 equals 4 will always be of more meaningful knowledge to you because you can turn around and use it later. Knowing the entire New Kids on the Block album, what does that do for you now other than being able to sing to it if you play it again? So that's what you want to be able to do. So that's why it's a good thing to always improve your vocabulary, improve your knowledge and what you know, and make sure that your brain is filled with meaningful ideas as opposed to being empty-headed and nonsensical, which is why many of the people that you see constantly speaking nonsensical utterances are themselves is due to because their minds are filled with nothing but nonsense or mostly nonsense. That said, let's begin this week's language of power words, 10 words from the language of power. Our first word is lament. Lament. The meaning of lament is it is a passionate expression of grief or sorrow. Lament. A passionate expression of grief or sorrow. Our next word following that is troglodytic. Troglodytic. In antiquity times, or referring to antiquity times, it is a person who lives in a cave. It is also a person who is characterized by reclusive habits. Troglodytic, a person who lives in a cave, a person who is characterized by reclusive habits. Our subsequent word to that is outmoded. Outmoded, which means antiquated or obsolete. Outmoded, antiquated, obsolete. Our next word is mollify. Mollify, and mollify means to appease the anger or anxiety of, to placate. Mollify, to appease the anger or anxiety of, to placate. Our subsequent word to that is derisive. Derisive, not divisive, but derisive. Pardon me. Derisive. Real quick note, I noticed that these words are making my pronunciation and enunciation a lot better too, practicing these vocabulary words. Having to read through and learn their meanings I noticed has improved my pronunciation a lot. And it also gives me the desire to want to improve my pronunciation and enunciation as well. Just a quick side note. Forgive me if I go off on my tangents. I'm sure you're not guiltless of the same actions. Derisive means expressing contempt or ridicule. Derisive, to express contempt or ridicule. Furtive. Our next word is furtive. This is a word I've never heard of before writing this down, before I recently heard of it and knew I had to look it up. Furtive means suggestive of guilt, suggestive of guilty nervousness. Furtive is defined as suggestive of guilty nervousness. And our next word after that is ameliorate. Ameliorate. And that means to make better, to enhance, to improve. Ameliorate, to make better, to enhance, to improve. Now, while many people are in society, due to our need to support the economy, or we hear all about supporting the economy, and due to the bottom line or profits being the baseline for many motives in society, we look at improvement as external, as some outside product to improve you inside, when really improvement starts from you working on your inner self, being introspective, taking the time to yourself to learn yourself or even know yourself. You'd be surprised how many people don't actually know themselves, only what I refer to as the cultural zombie caricature of themselves, or this cardboard cutout that we live as based on what others expect from us, or our artificial and misguided expectations for ourselves. Never really stopping to do what Socrates said, which is the unexamined life is a life not worth living. Just taking the time to examine your life. So when you decide to ameliorate, that's my first time getting to use that word in a sentence. You want to focus internally first, because that's where improvement starts. It doesn't matter what your body look like if your mind is still the pathetic, unlearned, uneducated, ignorant processing tool that you've developed it into. Remember, life is about growth, and that growth does not stop at physical or biological growth, but it's mainly about mental growth. That's the reason why, if you notice, human beings throughout history we've not been tasked only with survival, but unlike every other creature, we've gone on to be tasked with developing and creating, which is why we've got all the technologies that we have, as opposed to the abilities and artistry of other species or organisms in mortality. Our next word after ameliorate comes neologism. This is a new word I also just recently heard. Neologism. I'm still getting down the pronunciation of it. I'm pretty sure it's neologism though. It's either neologism or neologism. So I'm going to say neologism sounds better. So let's go with neologism. And neologism means it's a newly coined word or expression. Neologism. A newly coined word or expression. Our word after that is incontinent. Incontinent. And that means to lack self-restraint, lacking self-restraint, uncontrollable. Incontinent. Lacking self-restraint, uncontrollable. And our final word for this week's edition of Say Word is, drumroll please, oh that's right, our budget doesn't allow us to have a drum roll. Our final word is, did it just escape me? Give me a moment. It'll come to me. Remember, I'm only a human being. Our final word is militate. Militate. I thought this was an awesome word because when I first heard it, I thought they were saying militant or some other variation of military. But instead it was militate. And I knew I hadn't heard that before. So I was just curious. I had to see what the word was. At first, my brain wanted to assume that it must mean the same thing as military and everything else. But something said that, you know what? You better look it up just in case. And I'm glad I did. Militate actually means to be a powerful or conclusive factor in preventing. To discourage. Militate. To be a powerful or conclusive factor in preventing. To discourage. So in a way, you could say it still attributes to the word military in a way, because the military is, or at least it's supposed to be, for prevention or preventing, though a lot of times it is wantonly or egregiously offensive. And that's the tragedy in that subject, but that's a subject for another time. Anyway, those are our 10 words from lament to militate and everything in between this week for this episode of Say Word. Enjoy your week, improve, continue your fight against modern day newspeak. Do not let the powers that be limit your range of thought by convincing you that you are complacent or comfortable or content in being at the range of ideas that you are. Our life is about growth. Notice, nature did not endow you with a brain that was stunted after middle school or after 21. No, it continues to learn, so you might as well indulge it and continue to feed it that nourishing food of knowledge. Enjoy the rest of your day.